every book every woman should read in her 20s. From someone who's about to not be in her 20s. Hello everyone, welcome back. You made it back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, we are talking about all of the books that I think every woman should read in her 20s. Probably have seen these books already, but this is my opinion because I was going through my books and I started compiling these books and I figured, why not share them with you? And these are the books that really changed my 20s. I really learned so much about myself from all of these books. I wanted to compile these because I think every single woman in her 20s should know this stuff. They're all nonfiction. We could talk about fiction books too in another video, but these are nonfiction books. And let's just get straight into it. So the first one, I don't have my copy because I have no idea where it is. I probably gave it to somebody, but it's The Defining Decade by Meg Jay. And this book really, I probably read it when I was 20, 21. So I probably need to reread it, but it definitely transformed the way that I looked at my 20s. And I think it helped me realize that your 20s are really a playground to help you figure out what you want to do. There's so much pressure after you go to college to know what you want to do, which I think is crazy because you're so young and you're still just learning what it's like to be an adult. And how are you supposed to know what you want to do for the rest of your life? It's ridiculous. So this book really helps me reframe the 20s to be, okay, I can still be figuring out what I want to do. It has a lot of other great things in there. It's one that I would recommend to any young woman or man in their young 20s to just feel a little less pressured by society to figure out what they want to do. The next one I think is so important because this is stuff that all of this stuff is stuff that they don't teach you in school ever, and I think they should. But the next one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This book is the perfect starter ground for learning about money because, let me be honest, about my 20s, I had no idea what to do with money. I was starting to make it for myself and I had no idea how to manage it at all. So I ran into a lot of credit card debt that I'm still paying for. And I think this book would have really helped me if I had just read it sooner. But I only read it last year and it's such a simple way of explaining how money works. It's kind of like, if this was never taught to you, this is what you would read. The author talks about how he had his own poor dad, his biological dad, and then his friend's dad was really rich and he taught him these really valuable lessons about money in these really small ways. And it really just ingrained such a healthy relationship to money for him. And it was really helpful. So I highly recommend this one. The next one is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This one's a little bit not about money, but about how to live a creative life. And I think this one really transformed the way I think about creativity because it talks about how we conceptualize ideas, how we build off ideas, how we take action on the ideas and the creative aspects of our lives, and how do we take action on these ideas that we have instead of letting them sit and simmer. And I think it's just a really, I always think about the way that she thinks about creative ideas. It has stuck with me for years, her perspective. I love Elizabeth Gilbert's just perspective on things. So I highly recommend Big Magic, especially if you're a creative person, an artistic person. This is a really great book to read. The next two are going to be about your physical health that I think everyone needs to know and nobody teaches it, not just in school, but in the world. And they actually teach the wrong things about this stuff. So this book is called In the Flow by Elisa Vitti. She has another book called Woman Code, which is also really great. If you don't know who Elisa Vitti is, let me put you onto something, because if you are a woman, you need to know everything that Elisa Vitti is going to teach you about your body. She basically talks about how everything in our world has been studied, researched, and all of the research about health and physical health and diets and fasting have all been based on the male circadian rhythm of a 24-hour cycle and not on the 28-day cycle that women's bodies go through, our natural menstrual cycle. She did all of this, so she herself had PCOS and she was able to go into remission and have such a healthy life because she changed her diet and her exercise and her lifestyle to sync with her cycle. And she just transformed her life. And there's all this pressure on women to be at 100% all the time, 24/7. This book really teaches you that that is actually not how our bodies work and not how we shouldn't be fighting against our natural cycles. She talks about why there was this movement to put women on birth control in the first place and how that's actually really not good for us in the long run. And so I highly, highly recommend this book. You'll learn so much about your body, so much about what diet and exercise will best fit you at different times in your cycle. And now, like, it just transformed the way I think about my health and the way I think about my periods and how I'm not afraid of them anymore and how I don't resent them anymore for the most part. But if you don't know anything about cycle syncing or anything, this is a really great place to start. And if you can also just go listen to Elisa Vitti's podcast. She's done a ton of podcasts, and just anything that you can get your hands on with Elisa Vitti is so just life-changing. So last but not least is Sober Curious by Ruby Warrington. And you've probably heard the term sober curious before online. It was coined by this book and this woman. She talks about our relationship to alcohol and how we just kind of automatically think that it's this tool for us to socialize better, to have better sex, to be able to connect with people better. But she really helps you reframe the way that you look at alcohol. I honestly was never the same after I read this. And I think it's especially important to read in your 20s because there is a lot of pressure to be partying every weekend when you don't really have as many responsibilities as you do as you get older. There's this tendency to, I was a big partier back in my day. So I definitely needed this book. And it's just, if you are a person who cares about your health, I felt like it was such an interesting paradox for me when I was in my early mid-20s. I was taking care of my health. I was meditating. I was going to yoga. I was trying to make sure that I was eating better. But then after a long week, I would go and drink alcohol and like poison my body. And it's not preaching sobriety on anyone. That's why it's called Sober Curious. It's not preaching you have to be sober for the rest of your life. Unless, and she gets into the conversation about addicts, so I won't really speak on that. Or if you have a drinking problem, that's a completely different subject than this book. And she gets into all of that if you're curious. But for somebody who tends to drink a lot, who thinks that they kind of need it to feel socially fluid, this might be an interesting book to help you relook at the way that you consume alcohol. Because it's such a natural thing that is just kind of everywhere in the world. And that we were kind of taught that like, oh, all these drugs are not okay, but alcohol, which is a drug, is totally okay and totally legal. It's just so interesting. So definitely check this one out if you're curious. I love the way that she didn't push sobriety on anyone in this book, but she just helped you really see all of the ways that it damages your health in the long run and in the short run. And that's Sober Curious by Ruby Warrington. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I think every woman should read in her 20s. And that's not that much reading. Think about a whole decade. You only have to read 5 books. That's 1 book every 2 years, but hopefully you read them a little bit faster. They're all just life-changing and they help you rethink your life in a totally different way. If you want some more recommendations, let me know. Let me know in the comments below if there are any books that you recommend that every woman reads in her 20s. I would love to hear if I missed any. These were just the first 5 that came to mind. And I would love to hear from you if there were any that I missed. So let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you like this video, if you want more recommendations, give it a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're always up to date on my next video. I will see you next time.